Welcome everybody, my name is Marcus and today we're going to be talking about the movie Outside the Wire, which just came out on Netflix starring Anthony Mackie and Damson Idris. I really didn't know much about this movie. I watched the trailer, it seemed intriguing. Netflix has made some pretty good action movies. I really liked The Old Guard, I really liked Extraction, so I was down for it. Let me save you some time, don't watch this movie.
Do you trust me?
It was very disappointing, and here's why. The plot was a mess. It was very confusing. I feel like they tried to overcomplicate it. To be honest, this should have just been a Black Mirror episode that would have been much better at an hour long. I feel like it was overextended. There was random moments in it that really didn't pay off anywhere. They seemed to be going in multiple directions, but never ended up going with any of those. And then the ending of the movie, you were just like, well, it took that long for it to get to here. It was very predictable. I didn't like it at all. No knock to the actors, they did a really good job. I thought Anthony Mackie and Damson Idris did a really good job portraying their characters, but the plot, the writing was just bad. So another part that really disappointed me was I was expecting a military action movie with a lot of action in it, and there really wasn't enough. They had a couple action sequences. If you just want to see one cool action sequence, skip to about 1:20. Badass action sequence. That was the best part of the movie. But for you to wait that long for it to get into the movie is a little disappointing. They had some cool robots in it. I really like that. They basically look like Iron Man 2 plus District 9, put them together. And, they're helping out the soldiers. That was kind of cool, but I feel like they wasted that. It was a waste of potential. I was honestly more impressed by that YouTube video of that robot that was shooting at a shooting range. That seemed more entertaining to me than this movie and the action. Alright, so now that you've gotten kind of my take on the movie, here are a few things that I would have done differently to make it more enjoyable. This does contain some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it and you don't want anything spoiled, skip this part and then come back after you've watched it. But let's start with the action. This is a military action movie, a science fiction action movie. You gotta ramp up the action. I wanted more action sequences, so I definitely added in a couple more. I think what they needed to establish was kind of the ground rules of the world. They had the robots, they had Captain Leo, but you didn't really know the difference in the capabilities of the characters. I feel like I was kind of confused. Was Captain Leo just a soldier? He didn't seem to exhibit significant powers being a full-on android. And to be honest, their concept of feeling pain and emotion for him to be more human, I got it, but if anything, I would have just added maybe he could turn it off when he needed to in that sense. I know it would have been a little confusing, but it just didn't seem advantageous for him to be a super soldier that feels pain and has weaknesses like humans, and it was a little inconsistent, so they needed to clean that up. The other part was they didn't utilize the fact that he could be superhuman. They didn't have to go over the top, but a perfect example is Captain America. He's clearly stronger than the average human, and he does some pretty incredible things, but it's also very grounded, so that would have been a good balance for that. Another part, they needed to figure out the plot a little bit more. It was really hard to keep track of all the conspiracies. I understand Leo was trying to confuse both parties, kind of play the humans against each other, but it didn't really carry out that way. If anything, it just seemed very confusing, and they really had to just spell it out at the end, which I hate in movies when they have to explain what just happened in the movie. I like it better when everything clicks and it naturally happens. I don't like being told what just happened and being confused at the end. So they needed to clean up the plot with that. The next part would be the ending. It didn't really hit home for me. I feel like, yeah, we should care about people. I think that's a natural thing that we do. And I understood from the beginning they were kind of talking about, well, was that the right decision for Lieutenant Harp to sacrifice a few for the many? And, at the time, it seemed like a very tough decision. Whereas the decision at the end, we should nuke the United States to save the world. Okay, well, that's obviously not the right decision. And so it wasn't as heartfelt. It really didn't hit quite the way they expected because it was too easy of a decision. They needed to kind of ramp up the stakes. The other part is you really didn't have any connection between Harp and Leo. And so the ending really didn't make a difference. I feel like what they should have done is made it so there was more of a connection between the two and made that betrayal and double betrayal, so to speak, since Harp had to turn on Leo to save the world. They needed that to have more emotion, and they really missed the mark with that. So building the characters, building that connection. I know they kind of made it like a tough love thing, but then at the end, Harp doesn't care about Leo, so it doesn't matter. It's not a difficult thing. He's just trying to save the world. It's simple. It didn't seem quite as heroic or sacrificial in any way. Another part I feel like they kind of touched on but then didn't go anywhere with, which I actually thought the movie was going to go toward, was the fact of the relationship between robots and humans. They kind of showed like, oh, the soldiers are abusing the robot, and then Leo doesn't seem too fond of that. But then they never went anywhere with it. And it wasn't even at the end Leo trying to destroy all of humanity. It was just the United States because they were the ones that created him and they were the cause of the problems. But they really didn't touch on that robot-human interaction anymore. So I feel like they could have went in that direction. Also, I don't really know what tipped me off, but I almost thought, oh, maybe Lieutenant Harp is a robot and he's being tested in this and he doesn't even know he's a robot like Leo. And that would have been kind of interesting too, but they didn't do that either. It was just kind of a mediocre story that had no payoff. So I feel like they could have made some adjustments in the plot and made it a lot more interesting. I know they have great writers working for Netflix and they could have made this story much more interesting. But those are just a couple of my ideas for the movie. I haven't fully hashed them out, but let me know what you thought. I feel like they really missed the mark with this movie, and they could have done a much better job.
It's really important to me that Cap never finds out about this.
So I know Netflix can't just make perfect movies all the time, but this one is definitely a miss for me, so I would definitely recommend skipping it. I didn't like the plot, there wasn't enough action, and the actors really didn't have the writing to really carry it through. So definitely skip this movie. But I appreciate you guys watching it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I want to keep making great content for you guys. So thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.